Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Friday, and I am just wanted to do something today that I've been meaning to do for a while, and that is essentially comparing some early set rarity of sealed product among some of the newer TCGs that I follow, and I think that are kind of up and comers. And so the three that we're going to focus on today are Metazoo, a very popular game right now, as well as Flesh and Blood. And of course, our favorite that is on this channel is Genesis Battle of Champions. Just going to dive right into it here. So, why Metazoo? Metazoo is actually an IP-based marketing behemoth right now. Think of Metazoo as the new Pokemon, I would say. Very, different type of artwork compared to traditional TCGs, more of that fun-spirited one, and they're into kind of every vertical, and everything they do is selling out very fast. So how did it start off? Cryptid Nation, Kickstarter. They launched a Kickstarter in spring of 2021. 2,500 boxes sold. Those boxes currently hold an $8,000 to $10,000 valuation based on whether they're the regular or the non-alternating version. And if you want to hear more about what the non-alternating versions are, you can go down a lot of rabbit holes on YouTube looking at that content. They re-released Cryptid Nation as a first edition product, and that came out in July. 25,000 boxes were printed, and those currently have a value of about 1,000 to 1,250 Canadian. So you got a 10x Kickstarter print run. The latest set was Nightfall, came out in October, and they doubled the print run again to 50,000 boxes. Currently, those are sitting at $250 to $300. I do want to note with the Metazoo product that there are additional booster packs in spell books and some of their release kits and some of these other things. So keep that in mind for what it's worth. But the main thing I want you to kind of take away from here is 2,500 boxes, 25,000, 50,000 boxes, and then looking at the values. And also just kind of understanding how new this set is. I mean, spring of 2021 is not that long. This is less than a year old, and they're going for crazy amounts already. Move along to Flesh and Blood. Now, Flesh and Blood came out with Welcome to Wraith Alpha Edition in October of 2019, and the print run was 16,667 boxes. Those currently have a market price anywhere between 4,000 to 4,500. And when you get into Arcane Rising, that came out a few months later in March, and there were 16,667 boxes again of Arcane Rising. The value of that is significantly lower, only because it's not the first print out, but they have very similar cold foils. They have extremely low print run, and the value there, we're looking at 2,500 to 3,000. If you look at some historical videos, you will see these things have been extremely higher values, and they've also seen lower values in the last year and a half. And so when you get to Crucible of War, they actually increased the print run and went up to 37,500, so just slightly more than double, and that was August of 2020. So those are sitting around $750 to $900 a box. All right, we get into Genesis. The story gets a little bit more interesting. I do want to preface that this isn't even going to go over alpha. I've got other videos where I've talked about alpha. I will probably talk about alpha more. Alpha has less than 40 booster boxes out there, and there's various waves. You can check some of my other videos for that kind of content, but I want to dive into beta and further. So when we get into Genesis, the early sets, we've got beta that came out in September of 2018, 561 boxes. Currently at a value between 800 to 1,200, moving very fast. Numbers are all over the place right now. The next set was Welcome to Jalera, September 2019, 665 boxes. Again, it's moving up. It's going pretty fast, 700 to 800 Canadian. Next set was Raised, 655 boxes, and we're looking at $600 to $700 value, and that came out in September of 2020. These are the first three early sets that I wanted to kind of benchmark against Metazoo and Flesh and Blood. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of summarize this for you guys. So I've taken all three of the sets from Metazoo here. I've taken all three of the sets from Flesh and Blood, and I've taken all three of the sets from Genesis. And I want you guys to look at this, and I want you to look at a few things that I'm going to point out, and you can kind of extrapolate for yourself where you think this might be going. Metazoo, the player base is just starting to grow. Flesh and Blood has a great player base and growing very fast. Genesis is poised to get a bigger player base based on the Kickstarter campaign that's coming out and larger print runs. Up until this point, when you're looking at these Genesis print runs, there's not a lot out there. There can't be a lot of players yet because there hasn't been a lot. And if you watch some of the content of how Sid has grown his company, it's very grassroots and he's very cautious. And now he's at a time where he's trying to take this out to a bigger market and get to a bigger player base. So when you look at these box counts and compare them, you're going to see, on this Genesis list, 665 is the most boxes. Of the other two columns there, the least was Metazoo's Kickstarter at 2,500 boxes. Now, I don't believe that Genesis is going to go as gangbusters as Metazoo just because there's not as much hype around the product, and there's not enough player base yet to get to these Flesh and Blood valuations yet. But I know that there's room to grow, and I know that if the player base goes up, that we're going to see some crazy things happen in the next year. So, take this for what it's worth. I'll try to do another update of this maybe in a few months just to see where we're at, because I think it's really interesting, and I love looking at these numbers and understanding, the ebbs and flows of the market. One thing I did want to mention as well that I always was curious, and now that I see it on the screen, I can talk to you guys about it, was Welcome to Wraith versus Welcome to Jalera. You look at those release dates. Welcome to Jalera came out a month before Welcome to Wraith. I always wondered, did one of these games copy the other on putting Welcome to in front of the name? Anyways, just a little tidbit there. But personally myself, I try to play Flesh and Blood in Genesis. I have a little bit of a vested interest in all three of these products only because I like to collect and see where things are going. But I'm really excited to see the future. And what's really crazy is that this is not Magic the Gathering. This is not Pokemon. This is not Yu-Gi-Oh! These are three more newer emerging TCGs, and we'll see what the future has in store for these guys. Now Genesis has their Kickstarter coming, and so when we look at the previous slide and we see that there's only 655 boxes, we don't know the print run from Welcome to Jalera 2 yet, but we do know, based on some of my previous video work, there's approximately 3,800 plus Kickstarter boxes of Origins, potentially going to be a lot more, and so with this I think we're going to see a player growth, and I'm excited to see this, and I feel like all these new players are probably going to have to reach back and want some original cards. There's people like me, I like to play with first editions whenever I can, so I'm always trying to seek those out. And so we'll see what happens. As always, if you want to save some cash on some of your purchases, you can use a coupon code. Previous videos I had Shockwave5. I believe it's been changed to just Shockwave, so feel free to use that on Dragon World if you're looking for Genesis singles. And if you like this and you like similar kind of content and you want to hear and see more, please feel free to subscribe. And after that, have a great weekend.